Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Thankful Thursday, episode 3.
My name's Haley.
My name's Bree. This is Haley, my girlfriend, and today we're going to be doing episode 3 on relationships, toxic versus healthy love. And navigating the controversial topics between the two. All right, so we're going to start off by asking the question. I'll ask it to you first.
Okay.
What did you think love looked like before we met?
I feel like I thought it looked like more giving all of myself just to meet whoever's expectation, and just like giving and giving and giving and giving and giving just to make sure that one person was happy all the time, and that basically I was supposed to just give all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I never really thought it was supposed to be effort on both sides. I kind of thought it was me doing everything for another person and never fully receiving that same effort back. So I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
And how has your definition of love changed over time?
I feel like it changes every day with you. It has the same baseline, and it continues to progress and develop as we go on with our relationship. And right now, my definition of love has changed in ways such as it's 50-50, and I don't have to exhaust myself to make you happy. And even if I'm exhausted, you're still happy and content with me being me because you're happy with me. So I feel like the definition of love has changed in ways of it's not meant to exert my energy. It's meant to give energy and then receive it back.
I would say over time, my definition of love has definitely changed. I realized that it's a lot about receiving that same effort back, again, like you said, in a 50-50 way, but also learning to like kind of let down your walls and accept that a relationship that you have now isn't defined by your past, and you shouldn't let that get a hold of the person that you are becoming. So I think it's kind of also a lot about learning to trust and learning to kind of accept that old version of yourself and the old experiences that you went through don't define the person that you're becoming now.
What does a healthy relationship feel like compared to what movies or social media portray?
I think a lot of media portrays a majority of relationships as very, happy, positive, like end game, like, oh my gosh, like fireworks, explosions, like everything's fantastic. And obviously, like, there is that aspect, of course. Like, there are those moments and there are those feelings, but they don't always show like the realistics of like not every day is going to be the best day, and not every day is going to be sunshines and rainbows. Some days will be like really sick, and you'll have to be there for that person, and it's about showing up and choosing to be there, and that's like where the true test comes in. But I feel like a healthy relationship is about choosing each other every day through the ups and downs, and kind of learning to understand and observe how your partner is, in a sense of like their actions, like how they go about their day, certain things that they do that you can pick up on to kind of like help them in the future, if that makes sense.
I'd say I agree. I feel like social media doesn't portray everything completely. They show the good things and they show the bad things, but never in between, never what steps that people are taking to get back to the good after a bad day. It's just highlighting certain moments and not highlighting an entire story. Example, someone gets taken on this magical date, but maybe they fight every single day. Maybe they were fighting on that plane. Maybe they were fighting in the car, and that date only lasted 20 minutes. Maybe that date only lasted 20 minutes because they were fighting, Social media doesn't portray the entire story of every moment.
Yeah, I mean, there is that like movie dynamic of, you gotta reach the plot and that rising point of action, and then they're gonna fall, and then it's gonna turn bad, and then it's gonna get great. And I can see where a part of that would be like a lot of majority of relationship, but again, not everything you see online is how it really is.
What are some signs of toxic love that people often mistake for passion?
I think a lot of people mistake their partner being very direct and like screaming and saying like, oh, like I care for you so much, like you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like the controlling aspect of, I don't want you to do that or do this, and you have to stay home, you have to do what I want to do. That's controlling. And I get that there's like a healthy controlling, because we have a healthy controlling where we're like, or encourage each other to make smarter decisions, but we don't say you should be doing this or that. We're like,
I feel like an example would be, you can't get Chick-fil-A today because you had it like 2 weeks ago. You can't get Chick-fil-A today because you have to eat a salad.
which is what a toxic relationship would be like.
Yeah, but in our relationship dynamic, we often would ask, is Chick-fil-A going to be regretted later? Are you going to regret it later, or are you going to be okay with that? Or another example would be like, I love cheese and I'm lactose intolerant. So every time I get something with cheese, you'll say, are we sure that's a good idea? And I'll think about it, and sometimes I'll put it back, and I might be upset in in that moment, but then I look back at it later and I was like, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because in the long run, it helps you. Because, like, we help each other make decisions, but we're never saying, like, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I feel like a lot of actual toxic relationships are forcing rather than choosing what you want to do.
By the way, I have a mosquito bite right here, and...
Did you just get it?
Yep, and I'm allergic to mosquitoes.
What? Actually?
Yeah, but that just means that it swells up more.
You want to go inside?
No, because that's going to be silly.
2 seconds later.
What would happen if, like, we just took this inside and you, like, clipped it in?
Inside.
Yeah, we're going inside because...
We're getting bit, so we're continuing inside.
There's mosquitoes out right now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got...
Much later.
This is future editor Bree popping into the video to tell you that we filmed this bit at 3 a.m. Definitely tired to the max. It was the 4th of July and we were delusional, but we powered through for the Thankful Thursday, so I hope you guys enjoyed, but just keep that in mind because it's so funny. And we're back and we're gonna keep rolling with the questions. No more mosquitoes. So how do you know if somebody truly respects you?
I feel like I know when someone truly respects me over time of their actions and how they treat me and the way that they speak to me during situations, and just when I'm overstimulated, or if I'm talking about a topic that's sensitive to me, whether that makes me sad or frustrated, or maybe I'm just frustrated at something, or just like in small things that build up, and also majorly when I see that whoever it is, aka you, respects me in ways of my work, and you always respect my work hours, and you encourage me to go into work, and you never make me feel bad for things.
And that's the way it should be.
And you always tell me how good I'm doing with things. And I think that helps a lot to genuinely feel respected. How do you know when people respect you?
Well, as far as relationships, or like being in a relationship, I think a really big thing in general is actions over words, because obviously like a person can say so many things, but it's the fact that they'll go out of their way to do those things and really show and prove that they want to make that effort, they want to do that thing. And I feel like especially something that you proved to me a lot over time is that you will go out of your way to do things that you know will make us both happy, and you've learned so much of me that you're able to do those like things for me, and it means a lot, and that's how it should be.
I agree. I think learning with someone and learning their personality and how they need to be loved, how they want to be loved, how they receive love, and reciprocate it, how they process how their partner is treating them, or how their partner is speaking, or what their partner is doing. I think going as far as to learn how someone perceives things, I think that's a really big sign of respect, because you respect someone enough to understand how their mind works, so that way you can change the way that you're giving information and such, so that way they feel respected, you know?
That was really well said.
Thank you. Why do you think that people stay in unhealthy relationships?
I think people stay in unhealthy relationships because I feel like a lot of people are used to receiving that kind of love, so they kind of expect that going forth. For example, somebody in a relationship, in previous relationships that have been toxic, they're just gonna know love is always being toxic, so that's what they're gonna go for all the time. Like, people stay in unhealthy relationships because they think that the bare minimum is like a higher standard in their sense, because they don't understand they do deserve to be treated better than being treated in that unhealthy way. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that until they experience being in a healthy relationship, being loved by the right person. But obviously that's not the person's fault who is going through that time in their toxic relationship, because a lot of people are blinded by love or what they think love is, even though they're being treated in an unfair way.
I'd agree. I think that was very well said. I think it was very
You
good.
took my line. How do we handle disagreements without trying to win?
As for us, I feel like we handle disagreements without trying to win by taking a step back and taking a deep breath, maybe taking a few moments to process, whether that means a few minutes. Or something that we've been good at is we communicate when we don't want to communicate or when we're not ready to communicate. So if something's on our mind, we can just put it out in there and be like, I have something on my mind, but I'm not ready to talk about it right now. And then it just kind of communicates that one of us is in an off-put mindset. And I feel like disagreements, our biggest disagreement is food.
Oh my gosh. You can never decide. And then it's always, I'm not hungry. And then I'm like, okay. I hear the stomach growl. It's game over for me. Always get the food.
But anyway, I feel like we handle disagreements without trying to win by genuinely taking a step back and realizing the bigger point and what we want to get out of dispute or disagreement, like what we need to come from it. And we kind of look at it at each person's side. What do I need and what do they need? That way we can kind of come out with that as a 50-50 thing.
I agree with that, and I also feel like patience is a really big thing, because obviously when you're in a disagreement or like in an argument, you want to know like what's wrong, and like you want to know both sides of the story and how you can work through it and everything. But sometimes you can't get to that right away, and you have to learn to like be patient and wait for the right time. Other strategies like that we'll do is like text it, because sometimes it's a lot harder to verbally say things to one another, and I know like a lot of people experience that, and it's a lot easier to like get thoughts out even if you just write it down and you take the time to really think about what you want to say and how you want to dissect the situation before you talk about it with your partner. So I feel like patience is another really big thing, but also making sure that you're never like in a competition, because it's never a competition. You just want to make sure that you guys are both just communicating properly, just understanding both sides and respecting that, but also hearing each other out, because you never know what the other side of the story.
Which circles back to respect. That's another sign of knowing when someone respects you, is if they are capable of making sure that they have the patience and respect and the ability to be charismatic during those situations, to understand and be patient and know that you might want the answer. You might want to know what's going on in their head right then and there, but you can't force it out of the person,
Yeah.
And I think genuinely taking that in and not forcing it is a big sign of respect.
That was a good little circle back, I'm not gonna lie.
Is it okay to go to bed upset?
Okay. This is kind of a random question, but we're throwing a lot of random questions in the mix. I feel like growing up, the one thing I was told is never go to bed upset at anyone that you love or care deeply for, because you don't want to have that on your mind while you're going to bed. You don't want to feel like a certain way about something. You just want to get it off your chest, and you want to explain how you feel to your partner, because the way I look at it, you got to think about it in a perspective like you don't know if you'll live to see another day. And I know that's so dark, like that's so dark, but life is so precious and life is so short. Like you don't know how many days you have. And I feel like going to bed angry or like not talking about something is like the worst thing to do because you just never know. Start crying. That's so sad.
It's okay, honey. But I agree. You never know what is to happen in life. You never know how much time you have left in life. And if you wait even a week, you don't know what's going to happen that week. You don't know what doctor appointment is going to happen. You don't know what irresponsible driver is going to be on the same road as you. You don't know if there's going to be an allergic reaction in a food. You just never know what's going to happen. So I do agree if it's genuinely something that you feel passionate about, not passionate as in like a good way, but you feel passionate that it's an important conversation that needs to be had, or it's an important topic that's genuinely disturbing your day, disturbing the way that you think, disturbing the way that you go throughout your day, I think it's important to talk about that before going to bed. However, I do think that in some situations it is okay to go to sleep upset, but not necessarily upset, but unsettled, because sometimes, which just circles back to respect and patience, but having the respect to not say what exactly is going through your mind without understanding what's going through your mind. Like, if you haven't had the time to process what you're feeling and why you're upset, what about the situation upset you, and what you need to get out of the conversation that you want to have, if you don't have any grasp on what any of that is, then if you just talk about it prematurely, then I feel like there's going to be a lot of miscommunication, which is going to stir a lot of arguments, and then it's just going to be prolonged and exploded out because you didn't have the time to process. You didn't have enough time to process what you needed to process. So I feel like as long as it's not something major and it's something that you can go to sleep on and you can genuinely go to sleep and be like, okay, if I don't get to talk about this, it's not the end of the world. I will get over it. I think then in that situation, it's okay to go to bed upset because sometimes you just can't force it and you just need time to process.
I think that was a good circle back moment because there are certain times where you sometimes have to have that patience again and wait, but generally speaking, if you know that you don't have to wait or like you know that it's the right time, you should just speak about it as soon as you can because you don't want to wait. You don't want to let that time pass because again, you never know. I do agree with what you said. There are certain circumstances where it could be different.
Yeah.
So what role does honesty play in building trust?
I feel like honesty is transparency, and so honesty is the key to building trust. You can't have trust without honesty. It's something that goes hand in hand. If you're not honest and you create lies, that can create a gap in a later story, or a gap that could come out later on. And then, for an example, if you lied to me and then that lie came back and there was gaps or things missing or things that were misplaced in that story, then that goes back and allows gaps for somebody to be untrusting, or allows gaps for there to be miscommunications and for there to be arguments and for trust to be lost, because when I thought you were being honest, you weren't being honest. That was a lie. And so that takes back the trust that whatever conversation that we had, it takes that back plus more. So I feel like without honesty, you can't build true trust. What about you?
Basically, one lie can lead to so many patches in the story. Obviously, your partner's not going to trust you if you keep making those lies. I think being truthful and honest is like obviously the building block, the foundation of any relationship, along with communication and a bunch of other things. But trust is a number one thing. And even though a lot of people go at their own pace with trust, because I know it's hard with like a lot of people's previous experiences with what they've had as far as relationships, but I feel like eventually you can learn to trust and you can learn to tear those walls down. And yeah, I feel like everyone will get there at some point in their lives. So very important.
And without honesty, you can't get there. Do little little gestures contribute to a healthy relationship more than grand gestures all the time.
I feel like the little things can make all a difference, even as little as just like making breakfast in bed, which I know you've done for me before, and it's obvious it's really sweet. I mean, even the simplest things make all the difference. People in a relationship, or even in general, you can buy the most expensive thing on the planet for like your partner, but I feel like it can never compare to having like a breakfast in bed, or like a little handwritten note, or a card, or like balloons, little surprises. But I feel like it really does make all the difference, and it really shows the type of person that your partner is. Grand gestures, obviously, they're really nice, really sweet. Everybody's different with what they do as far as gifts and everything, or generally how they show their affection to their partner, but I feel like the little things in life make all the difference.
I agree. I think the little gestures are indeed more meaningful because you have to pay more attention to be able to fulfill those little gestures compared to a grand gesture. You can go on Pinterest and look up grand gesture and get like hundreds of ideas and answers without even giving it a second thought to try and figure out what kind of grand gesture would be more meaningful and more personal. But without little gestures, I feel like it's kind of hard to see if someone pays attention sometimes to you as a person. What's one piece of relationship advice that you wish everyone knew?
I wish everyone knew not to compare themselves to people in other relationships. I know a lot of people go out with their friends and they'll hear their friends talking about, oh, my boyfriend does this or that, and they'll be like, oh, why doesn't my partner do this? I feel like it's really important to not compare your relationship to anyone else's, because obviously everyone's relationship is different, and relationship dynamics and how you are with one another. We're all our own person, and we all have our own experiences, and we all communicate in our own ways, and that's completely fine. But I feel like a lot of people need to stay strong in their relationships and how they feel, and not compare themselves to other relationships, because again, nobody is the way that they portray the relationship, if that makes sense. There's always more to a relationship than, my partner and I, we're just amazing all the time. Like, we never fight, we never go through hard, rough times, because everyone has those experiences. And if a relationship doesn't have that, I feel like it's not healthy in a sense, because you're gonna fight, you're gonna have disagreements, you're gonna not get along sometimes, but it's about more than that. It's about getting through that and knowing that those are just rough patches and you're gonna get through it.
I agree. I think you were saying earlier too, like, making sure you're not comparing in the way of, well, he did that for her, he's doing this for her, he's doing, like, my friend gets flowers every single other day, like, my friend gets flowers every single week. Well, you don't need flowers every single week, because maybe you don't know the whole story. Maybe your friend gets flowers every single week but doesn't see her boyfriend all week. Or maybe your friend gets flowers every single week but her boyfriend or girlfriend or partner has 5 other girls or 5 other people. Like, maybe there's so much more to the story, in which flowers is not, hey, here's flowers, you deserve flowers. It's, hey, here's flowers because I don't give you attention, and this is your attention for the next week. I agree. I wanted to add that spin off because you were talking about that earlier. So I just want to make sure it was in there, because that's a really good point. What I wish that everyone knew is not to compare, again with the comparing, not to compare their current relationship with past relationships, because in both good and bad ways, because maybe you like so much more in this relationship, but the communication is different than your past relationship. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe you went out a lot more in your past relationship, but had no conversation, no communication, no nothing. But in your new relationship, you have complete communication. You guys are on great terms. You guys understand each other fully, but don't go out that much. So I feel like comparing relationships and comparing experiences can genuinely make a big difference, because it makes it hard to stay in your current moment with your current partner and making sure that you're not putting your partner in the past, because it's not fair to them.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Never judge a book by its cover too. That's what I got from a little bit of what else you were saying, a little rewind.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell someone who's never experienced healthy love?
I would definitely say that even though you feel like you're not going to find your person, you will find your person. Sometimes it just takes longer to kind of figure out where that person might be in the world, but I feel like there's someone for everyone in this world, even if you don't feel like there is. Somewhere out there, your person is waiting for you, wondering when they're gonna find you. So that's what I've always thought about up until I found my girlfriend. And I knew someday I would find somebody who was going to give me the love that I deserved, with also receiving the love that she deserves back. So I feel like that's what I'd say.
I agree. I feel like something I would tell someone who hasn't experienced healthy love is that it's okay to feel that you deserve better, and it's okay to see and accept that what you might have right then isn't what you deserve. It's not enough, and if you can't get more, if you can't get what you deserve, then it's okay to remove yourself from that situation, because I do agree, everyone has their person, and everyone deserves to experience healthy love as not only a feeling, but as an action, both received and given. I feel like I would make sure to tell someone who I feel, or who has told me that they have not experienced healthy love before, that healthy love is something genuinely beautiful, both physically, visually, emotionally, and all of the above. So just making sure that somebody knows that just because they haven't had healthy love before, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist for them.
And never settle for less. Never go for what is less than you deserve. And even if you don't know or don't think you deserve that much, you definitely do. And just never settle for somebody who's gonna treat you less than you deserve. All right, and that'll be it for this week's episode of my Thankful Thursday podcast. Tuning in with
Haley,
my girlfriend. Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed, and this is episode 3 on relationships, toxic versus healthy. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great, amazing rest of your week, your month, your day, your evening, night, afternoon,
your year.
Peace out.
It's something that goes hand in hand to gaps in your stories.
Yeah. I'm running off of so little sleep. It's 3